So in this week's episode of Make It with Calvin, we're going to be building a custom metal and wood business card holder that was inspired by a video that Ashley over at Chip Build saw, and then got me inspired into going, gee, I need a business card holder myself, so let's dive into the project. So the Canadian Good project, this was inspired by something somebody saw, and in the case of Ashley, she saw an interesting video about building a metal and bamboo plywood business card holder that was interesting, but there were some steps in the process that I was not entirely, shall we say, thrilled about how the process was done. So in typical Make It with Calvin style, I stared at it and said, you know what, I think we can do a little better and make this a little classier. So to start with, in that video, they used sheet aluminum. We are using sheet copper for Ashley's. This guy right here. And then I'm using sheet brass for mine because I wanted to differentiate it. Now, Ashley does have a CNC machine. It's a CNC router, but being that she has never cut metal on it, she did not feel the most comfortable attempting that by herself, and I don't blame her. It's a little bit intimidating if all you've ever cut is wood and plastic to go diving into metal, especially something as soft and gummy as copper, and even sheet brass can be somewhat difficult. So for that reason, I decided it would not be a bad idea to work on making some parts up ahead of time as a backup, so just in case we ran into any issues, we could have something to work with. And in the best case scenario, you have a second one. You could always do a giveaway with the first one. You can do whatever. Now, one other thing that I did differently when it came to machining these is normally I've always used two-sided tape on an acrylic machining table to hold all my sheet metal parts down. Well, a while ago, I saw John Saunders from NYC CNC's video where he was using masking tape and super glue to hold things down. Now, mind you, he was using higher quality masking tape and higher quality super glue than what I was using, but I decided, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I want to do this as cheap as I can. Only reason why is I'm taking it from the standpoint of you're a hobby machinist or you're somebody in college who has access to a CNC machine, but you don't want to go spending $10 on really, really nice super glue, and you don't want to go spending another $5 or $10 on really nice masking tape, considering that you use a fair bit of both. I literally went to the local 99-cent only store and bought 99-cent store brand masking tape and the good old little red and yellow bottles of crazy brand super glue, the little squeeze bottles that are really convenient to have as well, just for anything, and use those to hold the parts down. And I did not have high hopes for it, but lo and behold, to my utter surprise, it worked quite well. And one of the only drawbacks to this is the fact that if you do get a little bit of the super glue on the material, you will need to come back with acetone to clean it off. And sometimes if the metal gets too hot, you run the risk of the tape adhesive welding itself to the metal. So just keep that in mind. I have not tried doing any cutting with this involving any cutting fluids, lubricants, anything like that. I did all the cutting dry. So I can't speak for if this will hold up if you're using any kind of oil or coolant mist or anything like that. So I don't know, but I'll be checking that hopefully sometime in the future. That said though, all the parts turned out good. Sadly, the footage for some reason of cutting Ashley's copper parts out, for some reason I only have a really tiny bit of it, and I'm really sorry about that, guys, but I can tell you it was really simple. All I did is I just drilled the whole pattern, and then I did a contour with a ramp in on both of these guys, and I also did a ramp around the outside. The reason why I use a ramp instead of just a straight plunge is one, in-mills hate straight plunging, and two, it reduces the load on the material, which is the main point. Now when it came to my brass parts, the method of cutting them was a little bit different. This in here was done with a 20,000ths ball end mill going down about 5,000ths of an inch deep, about a 10,000th step over. You can definitely see the machining lines in there, but I actually kind of like that. It adds a look to it, if you will. So now that the parts are all machined, and you'll be able to watch that at the end of the video, the next step for these parts is going to be building the spacer that goes in the middle. We're going down to Ashley's place to do that. We're also going to attempt to cut the parts out again. do some metal machining down there. So definitely, if you're not subscribed already to Ashley's channel, do that. If you're not subscribed to mine, feel free to do that, so you guys don't miss any potentially awesome content from both of us coming up hopefully shortly here. All that said though, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys enjoyed the machining bit at the end. And as for me, I gotta do some finishing work on these and get ready to take them down there. See you guys later.